Hey everyone, Dandelion Princess here, and welcome back to another episode of Spotlight, where I shine the spotlight on things I normally don't talk about here on the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I am super excited because this series was honestly a pretty big part of my childhood. And I am definitely not the only one. This series has left a lasting impression on a lot of people, and for good reason. Even before Avatar actually released on Nickelodeon, there was so much excitement and hype surrounding this series. I even remember when it was coming close to the show's premiere that Nickelodeon put a little timer counting down to the premiere. I remember just watching like the Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob and watching that little timer count down. And despite all the anticipation that had built up to the premiere, this show ended up exceeding so many people's expectations. I remember being just blown away from the very first episode. I think one of the things that really helped The Last Airbender gain traction was honestly just how different it was from anything else Nickelodeon was doing at the time. Pretty much everything else that Nickelodeon was putting out at the time was episodic. Whereas not only did The Last Airbender have an overarching narrative, but it had a very unique cast of characters set in a very unique environment. The story is character-driven with great world building surrounding them. Avatar was truly a one-of-a-kind concept that was executed nearly perfectly. Avatar is set in a world where a large majority of people can manipulate certain elements. Fire, water, air, and earth to be exact. They call it bending. I always loved this concept, and it is cool in of itself, but the series really took it one step further with just some of the very unique ways that these characters utilize these elements. Whether it's using fire to keep your body temperature level, or using water bending to make ice and manipulate people's bodies with blood bending. The point is, even though there's only 4 types of bending, we get to see characters push the boundaries of their element. As I said, this series has some great world building. Every place that the characters visited felt unique and different. Even the difference between the Southern Water Tribe and the Northern Water Tribe was crazy to see. Not to mention places like Ba Sing Se and the Fire Nation. I absolutely loved how every place seemed to have its own history and culture. Going into the characters a little bit, I pretty much found all of them enjoyable to a large extent. Even the villains are compelling and interesting to watch, even if you're not rooting for them. Zuko really stands out to me as a character, as he has arguably one of the largest character arcs, and I just find it really interesting because at the start of the series, I really didn't like him. I found him to be a bit annoying. But as the series progressed and you get to know his backstory and some of the things that happen, they slowly built this character up to become a fan favorite. The series does a really good job of giving each character their time to shine. Even characters like Sokka, who are largely comic relief, have serious moments and have their own fears and doubts. Sokka is actually another character that I really love because he has to overcome the fact that he is the only character in the main group that can't bend at all. Though most of the population are benders, there is still a group of the population that can't bend. Then, of course, there is Aang, the main character of the series. Aang is the Avatar, which means he has the special ability of being able to bend all 4 elements. And throughout the series, his task is to master all 4 elements. For me, he was very easy to sympathize with from pretty much the beginning. Once you get a bit of his backstory, it's very easy to see that he didn't want to be the Avatar. But given his age and the circumstances, I can't blame him. Throughout the series, he struggles with his role and what it means to be the Avatar. And I have to say, on the subject of the Avatar, I found that the way the Avatar works was really interesting. Honestly, that's pretty much all I can say without spoiling anything from this series, so if you haven't watched it yet, definitely go do that. So yes, I love that the Avatar is basically just reincarnated. Aang is still his own person with his own personality, but the fact that he's had all these other lives and can channel them in certain moments was really cool to see. Honestly, this series has some of the best lore that I have seen, especially for the time that it came out. Something I absolutely love about this series is just how far it's willing to go at times. I mean, Aang literally gets electrocuted to the point of death. Azula goes insane. Katara almost kills someone in revenge. And Aang has to struggle with if he's going to break his moral code to save the world. These moments really stuck with me from my childhood. And even having recently rewatched this series, it still holds up so well. As I had mentioned, Zuko is my favorite character, and seeing him go from villain to hero was such an incredible journey, and it was one that it was probably my first redemption arc that I had seen. The Last Airbender was really a one-of-a-kind, and not a lot of shows were that character driven. So yeah, for me and everything I was watching at the time, Zuko was the first villain that I ever saw switch sides. Seeing him come into his own and find a place with the group was really cool to see. Now, I want to go into a lot more detail with some of these characters, but I'm honestly afraid this video is going to get too long if I go into any of that. So I'm going to dedicate separate videos for some of these characters. There is just so much depth to these characters, and I want to give them the proper amount of time. I also plan to talk about The Legend of Korra, which is the sequel series, and I'll probably talk about the live-action remake series Netflix is trying to do, and other stuff to deal with Avatar: The Last Airbender. So if you did like this video, please consider subscribing for more content like this. And I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this series. Who was your favorite character? What was your favorite moment? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.